You're listening to WRFN LP Pascal. This is the Voices of Change radio station on 107.1 Radio Free Nashville. The Voices of Change radio show is here every Friday from 1 to 2, interviewing a member group of Community Shares. And what Community Shares does is we go out into workplaces and we offer employees an option in their workplace giving. So if you want to find out more about Community Shares, you can visit our website, communitysharestn.org. My guest today, guest member group today is the Tennessee Scenic Rivers Association. Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, tell me a little bit. First, introduce yourself and how your role in the organization, if you don't mind.
My name is Jack Lyle. I'm a board member and a past president of TSRA.
And my name is Daniel Boone, and I'm sort of the same. Got involved in the group around 1980 through a canoe school, learning how to paddle a little bit of whitewater, and been on the board since about 85. 10 years later, similar to Jack, I guess, they for some reason elected me as president of this organization for a couple of years, and here I am 14 years later talking about it on the radio. So we've both been around a while.
Well, tell me just a little bit briefly about the history of TSRA, how it came to be founded, the mission that you all try to do in the community, that kind of thing.
It started back in about 1966. There were a group of people who wanted to prevent the Corps of Engineers from channelizing the Collins River, which was a proposal at the time. It was a flood control proposal. And as these things often are, it wasn't very long-sighted. It was very short-sighted. And this group that was founded to oppose that were successful in stopping the channelization of what is a beautiful state river. And it's a river we all enjoy to this day. Many of our members paddle on it. And, that's basically our first success story. And then the same people that founded the club realized pretty quickly that they needed to learn how to paddle, to go out on these streams. When they started the early trips, there's some anecdotal stories floating around, no pun intended,
right,
about how they didn't know what the heck they were doing, and so they had to learn. And some of the earlier members started acquiring skills. And this, over a period of a few years, developed into, the first of our schools. And we began to teach people how to properly paddle, mostly canoes in the early days. And, of course, kayaks came along, and now there's lots of kayaks. We still have canoes, kayaks. We have things called sit-on-tops. There's all sorts of craft that you can paddle on a river, a non-powered craft. Right. And that's what we're all about. And that would include rafts, too. And you can use these craft to go to some incredible places that are very, very hard to see otherwise. We have some wonderful places in Tennessee.
So tell me the difference between a kayak and a canoe, and what's a sit-on-top?
Well, of course,
we're gonna
Daniel's smiling because we always have this sort of good-natured rivalry between canoes and kayaks, and which one is better. And, of course, the truth is that the best boat is the one you are in.
Good answer.
And, of course, a canoe is the classic boat everybody thinks about when they think of Hiawatha or whatever. And people who are really good in a canoe can go anywhere a kayak can go. They paddle these things on the hardest whitewater rivers. Now, they're specialized. They have flotation bags and thigh straps and all sorts of high-tech stuff that they use to make themselves part of the boat. In a kayak, of course, you are sort of enclosed in it's what we call a decked boat. The whole, you got a hull and a deck, and you're basically sitting inside it. And they're typically a little smaller. You see these things being paddled nowadays on some extreme runs. You see a lot of freestyle competitions that involve these boats. The very best freestyle boater in the world resides here in Tennessee and builds boats here in Tennessee, up at Sparta, Tennessee, and I'm speaking of Eric Jackson.
What makes him the best, do you think?
Well, practice.
He lives at Rock Island, Tennessee, and he has a place there where he can practice, and exactly, it's like Daniel says, he practices a whole lot, And if you've ever seen him paddle, he's pretty incredible. There's a lot of people at that skill level now. It's they've pushed the abilities of the average boater way up there.
Right. So TSRA, you all are a membership-based organization, correct?
Yeah, Trace, let me say one more thing before I answer that question to address your previous question, the difference between a canoe and a kayak. A canoe is an open boat. It's an open cockpit. You sit on your knees basically in white water to lower your center of gravity, so you're on your knees paddling. And a kayak is a decked boat. It is a covered boat. Basically, you sit on your butt with your feet out in front of you. And again, you've got a very low center of gravity.
They unceremoniously call us butt boaters.
So, you know, anyway, I thought I'd throw that in. And I guess, you know, I'll paddle a canoe as long as I can get on my knees, and then I'll just have to go to a deck boat, I guess. But
when he's forced.
So
and that will be the saddest day ever.
I will tear up, but I will nonetheless make the transition and do it gladly at that point, because I just love being out on it so much. But anyway, that's kind of the difference. A wreck boat, a sit on top, is more of a boat that you literally do sit on with your feet out in front of you. And sometimes they have straps for your legs, sometimes they don't. They're open, and mostly for flat water. There are some that paddle them in white water, but you're a little bit vulnerable to paddle that type of boat on really big white water. Now, your other question was?
My other question was, now I have another question. What, this is why I like you all coming on the show. I do, because it's like we have like this great conversation about, what would you recommend for someone who's just starting out in paddling? What type of, does it just depends on preference, or if somebody's listening and they're thinking, man, I'd like to get into this, do you all rent?
Well, we don't rent. That's a great question. We get that question a lot. My suggestion is usually certainly don't go out and buy a new boat. There are places, if you have an idea of what you want, you can get in the newspaper, online, find a used boat, something that you're not going to invest a lot of money in, because you might want to turn around and sell it the next week as you spent most of your day swimming instead of paddling. But I recommend people go to some of these rental operations, canoe liveries. There's some on the Harpeth River here, Foggy Bottom, Tippecanoe. There's others, and they have a variety of different types of boats. You can paddle canoes tandem. You can paddle canoes solo. They have kayaks that they'll rent. They have sit-on tops that they'll rent. And it is moving water, but it is very much a Class 1 flat water run for the most part, and very non-threatening, so you can just get out and play a little bit and experiment around a little bit. Now, we do have canoe schools where we actually teach people how to do moving water, white water. But at that point, you're pretty much responsible for bringing your own boat. So you need to borrow one from someone or at that point, or maybe you've purchased one and you want to go out and learn how to paddle it. But don't spend a lot of money initially going and buying a brand new boat.
Right. So you just mentioned there's Class 1. Tell me the different classes of water. Like there's Class 1 and Class 2 and...
Well, there's a Class 1 through 6 system that is generally recognized across the country for whitewater. Mm-hmm. Class 1 being, like the Cumberland, just basically moving with not much in the way of obstructions or anything. Then Class 2, of course, you get a little bit more faster current, and you may have some easy obstructions to move around, some easy riffles, things like that, small waves. And then Class 3, you're beginning to get into some show-enough whitewater, as we call it, and you're going to have obstructions that are very obvious out there that you'll have to move around. The water is faster still, and there's small hydraulics that form. Class 4, again, everything just steps up another notch. Class 4 is considered fairly difficult whitewater. In other words, you've got to know what you're doing in Class 4 and above water. Class 5 is considered generally the hardest thing that can be run without an absolute risk of your life. Ooh. And even then, you've got to be careful.
Do we have Class 5 here in Tennessee?
We do, in fact, have Class 5 runs here in Tennessee. So that's why it's very, very important.
Do they have these posted somewhere?
No, they don't.
Oh, my.
You better find a partner that's been there before. You don't want to go out on your own.
You know, we always you never boat alone and you never boat the unknown. That's kind of what these sayings are. And so you learn this sport a little bit at a time. You certainly don't start on class 5. You start on class 1 and 2 and move your way up. And then you go with people that know these runs. And that's how you remain. It's a very safe sport if it's conducted like I just described.
Right. And Tracey, one thing too, it depends on the water level. You can have the same stream. One day it's a class 2. 2 days later, if we've had a significant rainfall, it may be a class 4 or 5. Oh. Because it builds the water up. There's bigger waves. There's bigger holes. There's more danger involved. So you just have to kind of be careful and know the watershed. Go with somebody, as we said, that knows the water and understands your skill. They have to be honest with the trip leader in our group and let them know what you've paddled and where you've paddled and how skilled you are to get on their trip. A lot of times when we schedule a trip on one of these kind of rivers, and Jack does this often, Jack does not put the meeting place or the time in the trip write-up report, just the date and where we're going and a little bit of description of the river. That forces whoever's going to call him and say, okay, where is the put-in? He says, well, who are you?
Right.
And how much do you know?
I can make an assessment of the person that's coming. If I don't know them, I'd like to know what their skill level is. And I sometimes lead trips on harder rivers. Like a couple of weeks ago, I led one on the Big South Fork of the Cumberland, which is a Class 4 river. And it's beautiful and it's fun, but it does require a certain amount of skill. It's not for beginners. So I have to make sure that the people that are coming are at least have a fair amount of experience before they should come on that trip.
Where part of the Cumberland is Class 4?
Well, this is the Big South. The Big South Fork is up near Oneida, Tennessee, between Jamestown and Oneida, and it flows north, which is unusual also.
That is.
Flows north until it reaches the main Cumberland, up just above Lake Cumberland, up in that area of Kentucky. And then it, of course, flows back into Tennessee above Carthage. That's where the whitewater sections of the Cumberland are, up in those areas.
I was hoping you would say, like, by East Nashville or something. I was going to be like, wow.
The Shelby Street ramp would not be part of that trip.
No. I was just hoping. So at TSRA, you all do have classes for all different types of skill levels, correct? How many people are usually in these type of classes? Do you have, like, where?
Well, Tracey, let me give you a couple of dates here. By the way, 2 things I don't want to get out of here without mentioning is our thanks to you guys at the Community Shares for giving us the opportunity to speak about our organization. Y'all have been great partners with us for a number of years and have been a real strong financial supporter of TSRA, and hopefully we've been good stewards of the funding that you've provided us. And the other thing I want to do is not get out here without mentioning our website, where you can get all this information that Jack and I are sharing. It's paddle, TSRA.org. Paddle, TSRA.org. We've got coming up in June is our canoe and kayak school. It's June 20th through the 22nd. It's a full weekend. And we'll have anywhere from 80 to 100 or so people there for that event that weekend. It just depends. We've started enrollment. The enrollment information is on our website. We will be on Class 2 whitewater for the most part. So we divide up into small classes, anywhere from maybe 4 to 6 people in a class with 2 volunteer instructors. So it's very hands-on, very small group, up close and personal. So you do get some really good instruction. We group people according to the information that they put on their application. So it's important that they be honest with us and tell us the truth about their ability and some of the rivers that they've been on, or if they're brand new. We group the beginners in a class, we'll put the novices together, and we'll put the intermediate paddlers together to the extent that we have the accurate information to do that. And like I say, each group has a minimum of 2 instructors. Sometimes they support boat or 2 depending on the age group. And we do invite kids to this. If they want to come with their parents, that's great. We've got people that are very good at teaching kids on the river, starting at about age 10 and up, as long as they can get a paddle and and be able to reach the water.
And follow directions, probably.
Well, and follow directions. And if they don't, they swim, and they learn pretty quick.
Right.
What to do and what not to do. And we've also got I'll come back to that in a little while. We've got some safety training. We'll talk about that later in some other trips. But that school is a big event for us. It's one of the ways that we raise our money for our conservation efforts.
I think this is a good opportunity to take a break, and you're listening to 107.1 Radio Free Nashville. This is the Voices of Change radio program. I'm your host, Tracey. I'm here every Friday from 1 to 2, interviewing a member group of Community Shares. And what Community Shares does is we go into workplaces here in Middle Tennessee and throughout the state, and we give people an option to donate through their paycheck, and we collect the money, and we give it to our organizations twice a year. And we also make our member groups go through a lengthy process once a year to make sure that they are doing good work with the money they are given. So if you want to find out more about Community Shares, you can visit our website, communitysharestn.org. And my member group guests today, they're both so far, very great guests. It's Tennessee Scenic Rivers Association.
There's plenty of time.
That's right. We still got half an hour, though. Things could go crazy. So I thought we'd start off talking this half about, you all do an event in April called the Rendezvous. Tell me a little bit about, it's already happened, but I think it's good to mention this is one of the ways you all raise money. So tell me a little bit about that event.
Well, first of all, and Daniel may contribute something here in a minute, this event goes way back to the 70s, and it was basically just a group of paddlers getting together up on the Cumberland Plateau to just go paddle for a long weekend, 3 or 4 days. And if you don't know much about the Cumberland Plateau, it's just got a world of these wonderful small streams that run off the plateau that are remote, beautiful, wonderful whitewater streams, and there's every level of difficulty up there you could ask for, everything from class 1, 2 stuff up to class 5. And at any rate, this event sort of expanded over the years, and it got more and more people involved. We had it in different places, and for probably the last 17 or 18 years, it's been at a girls' camp in near Crossville that's not being used. We rent it for 4 days, and we always get a laugh out of it because there's all these grown men in there trying to shave in these little mirrors made for 14-year-old girls, things like that. But we always have a really big time with it. We have fires at night, and we all sit around and tell lies. And the big thing we do there, besides just having fun all paddling together, is we have an auction on Saturday night. We raise money for our big thing, which is conservation. Daniel is a really good MC for this and an auctioneer for it, and he's done this task for us for many years now. And he's really funny. So if you're ever at this event, the auction is a must-attend thing to do. It's really a lot of fun. We get donated articles from outdoor shops and individuals. We always have a lot of nice things to give away, and we just have a blast with the auction.
Tracey, I think it got started for me in that auction. One of the early years I helped do this. It's just a matter of getting up and acting stupid, which is not a stretch for me at all. But I auctioned off a Converse tennis shoe, not a pair, but one Converse tennis shoe that had been hanging up in my barn that had a dirt dauber's nest in it. And I just brought it because I was cleaning out my barn and got $25 for it. So you just never know. We make it fun, and I don't remember who bought the shoe or what they did with it. It's not important. It's all about, helping and TSRA and raising a little money, and we just have a lot of fun with it. And we have some great folks who donate a lot of really good equipment and gear, some handmade pieces of art in addition to all the whitewater gear that everybody wants. We usually auction off a boat or two, some new, some old. We have in years past auctioned off the same boat 2 or 3 years running as people have taken it out and brought it back and donated it again. Somebody else will buy it. They'll find out it's not what they want, so they'll bring it back the following year, and we'll auction it off again.
So it's like the boat that goes around to everyone.
You just get into that sometimes.
Right.
But we have a good time with it, and A lot of planning goes into it, but it's just a good volunteer effort. And we learned a long time ago. I think one of the great successes that we have figured out many years ago was if you have to find out how to raise money for an organization by having fun. And that's pretty easy for us. We teach and raise money through schools, and we all enjoy and have fun with that. We have a rendezvous where we just cut up and have a big time with kindred spirits, and the money comes in, so it's great.
The other great thing is that as people get in this sport and in our club, they gain skills and they become teachers themselves. So that's the nice thing, is that you're given something when you get in, and then you very quickly start giving it back to others. So it's a pay it forward, pay it back kind of thing. And I really think that's one of the nicest things about TSRA that I've always really loved.
I know you all come on the show, and I'm always like, I need to go out into the water with you all.
Well, come on.
And then I remember I had my traumatic moment in Florida.
This ain't Florida.
I know, right? It's not Florida. No.
There's no sharks.
That's right. No giant spiders. Well, there are giant spiders. Yeah.
Don't go that far.
Let's not. So let's talk about some other stuff you all do about water safety. And you all offer some classes on rescue, correct?
Tracey, we've got a swiftwater rescue seminar that we've got some folks that are trained by the American Canoe Association, ACA certified as we know it. Very skilled at what they do. They're good teachers. You have to be to get that certification, and they're volunteers again with our group, and they're perfectly willing to share that information that they have with others. Our rescue seminar, the one that we're doing this summer, is July 19th and 20th, and you can go online and get all the details about that, where it is, and the cost. It's not very expensive. It's just something that if you're going to do a lot of paddling, you need to know about rescue. You always want somebody in your group with throw ropes and some skills in case anybody has a problem. We've spent the last several years holding a number of rescue seminars for fire departments, particularly after the flood of 2010. I think we had a lot of folks realize that they need a little bit more knowledge about how to deal with that kind of water, what to do and what not to do, how to keep yourself safe, at the same time be of assistance to somebody that's having some problems. So we've pretty well done that, and it's just it's good. It's been good.
I would like to add one thing about safety, and I know people can get concerned about that, and they think, well, I don't want to do anything I might get hurt in, and it is a bit of an adventure activity. But I'll point out that TSRA has been around for 48 years now. We've never had even what would be considered a serious incident in our club. And I don't want to jinx us, but the reason we have such a good safety record is that we practice safety and teach it.
I think it's good now to move on to your conservation efforts that you all do, because I think that in community shares we like to fund groups who are working on big picture type change stuff, and I think conservation fits really well into our mission. So tell me a little bit about the conservation that you all do.
All right, Tracey, let me try to tackle part of that, and I know Jack will chime in here as he needs to. We have a lot of different types of conservation. Everything we do in some shape, form, or fashion is tied to conservation. You can't be a whitewater or paddling enthusiast without having an appreciation for clean water.
Right.
Nobody wants to paddle downstream from a sewage discharge. You just don't want to do that. So one of the hooks is to teach people to paddle, and from that point on, you want to do what you can to try to protect the waters and keep them clean and free flowing. Couple of ways we do that, we have an Adopt a River program where we have members that will adopt a favorite stream or section of a creek, river, sometimes near where they live, sometimes just someplace on the plateau that they enjoy paddling, and they'll monitor the water quality in that stream and keep an eye on it and report to our good board member who oversees this program, David Pelrin. anytime they see any issues or potential issues, anything running into the stream, that pipe coming out of a pipe or coming off of maybe some farm property or whatever it might be that looks like it's causing a pollution issue. One of the things that David does with some help of some of our other guys is actually taking place tomorrow, and that is an Adopt a River Stream Survey seminar to teach people how to monitor the water quality in the stream. And that is taking place tomorrow at 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock at Moss Wright Park in Goodlettsville. And they'll be there at 10 o'clock. Just show up and become a part of it. They'll do a bug count. They'll look at the insect larvae that are in the stream, teach you how to identify it, what lives in clean water, what doesn't live in clean water, and more importantly, the insect larvae that will not survive in polluted water. So if you're doing a survey, you're doing a kick net, you're trying to get the bugs out of the stream and into a kick net so you can identify them. If you're not seeing those mayfly larvae that will grow only, produce only in a clear stream, then you know you got a problem. If all you're seeing are worms and water pennies, which will live just about anywhere. So you'll learn how to do that at this seminar tomorrow.
How many of do you all, since you all go out into different, streams and lakes around here, is there a lot of pollution out there, would you say? Is that a tough question to answer?
Yeah, I guess, Tracey, everything's relative. The bigger the body of water, the more of a target it is for pollution.
Right.
One of the things that we have focused on in recent years with the money that we've generated is to try to become involved with other groups whose goal is to protect the headwaters of a lot of these streams.
Mm-hmm.
If you can protect the headwaters where the streams start, you got a shot at keeping it clean downstream. If you start way downstream with a cleanup effort and somebody upstream is causing problems, eventually it's going to be, downstream. It's pretty simple. So we've worked with a lot of groups, Swan River Conservation Trust, particularly on the Western Highland Rim, that's in Summertown, protecting Big Swan Creek, which is just an absolute pristine gravel bottom clear stream. If you can protect that watershed at the headwaters where people are not developing around it and polluting it, then you've got a shot at keeping it all clean. So that's kind of what we focus on in terms of protecting the water. One of the other things we like to do, and this sounds like it may or may not be connected to conservation, is we have a very active access committee who are building accesses on the streams.
What does an access mean?
It's a structure, very minimal impact to the stream bank. It's mostly made up of cross ties where people can put in and take out on streams. We've built several on the Harpeth River. We built one this year on Whites Creek, which is the Hartman Park area in North Nashville, in the Clarksville Pike, Buena Vista area. The theory there is that if we can get people on the streams to paddle the streams and get out and enjoy the recreation and the exercise, they will be more apt to keep it clean, not to litter, not to pollute, help us monitor the streams and do those sorts of things if they can get in and out of the water with a boat. So that is directly, but yet it may seem like indirectly involved in our conservation efforts. Get people out, tell them where the put-ins are and the takeouts, and let them do that.
Are having put-ins and takeouts, is that important in the sport of? Is that you can't just walk down to the?
Well, you get into all kind of private property issues if you're not very careful.
I could imagine that you would run into some issues.
The state highways have a right-of-way access at all their highway bridges, but if somebody's got it fenced and they consider it their property, the person with the gun wins.
Exactly.
Okay? So you got to behave and act right.
Is that the TSRA's motto?
Yeah, pretty much. That's been my experience. I don't care whether I'm right.
We don't consider ourselves, confrontational.
Right.
I'm not going to argue with the guy.
We would like to win them over in a better way.
Yes.
So, you don't litter, you behave when you're on the river, you don't trash up the put-ins and the takeouts, but you got to have an access. You got to have access to the water, and sometimes it is on private land, and sometimes many cases, we have good relationship with landowners that will let us come on their property, their private property, and put a boat in or take a boat out, or a group of boats, as is most of the case. As long as we let them know we're coming and give them some idea what's, when and what our deal is, it's
Right.
pretty easy to get permission. There are a few that just don't want you there, and we respect that. But you got to have a place to put in and a place to take out.
Why do you think there's not just more of those being built by, like, Metro or city governments and that kind of thing?
Well, the city government here in Nashville has been really good about that.
Have
They
they?
have built an access on Mill Creek at Old Thompson Lane. We have built one on Mill Creek at Easel Park along the Greenway. We are building one on that same Greenway in September in the Culbertson Road area way upstream, Nolensville Road, Culbertson Road, Pettis Road, and up in the not the headwaters of Mill Creek, but up above greater Nashville, if you will. So Metro has been really good about building and expanding the greenway system, which gets people out, in many cases, walking along the creek. And whether they paddle or not, they still understand litter. They understand the importance of keeping it clean, and they understand, in most cases, when something is wrong, something's foaming up the creek or the water, and they need to call somebody, and oftentimes they will. So I'll have to give high marks to Shane Dennison with Metro Greenways and their crew, and they've been a really big help and been very open to us building these accesses. The one that I mentioned that's on Whites Creek in Davidson County, in northern part of Davidson County, is on a greenway, a Metro Greenway. So those have been really instrumental in helping give us access to some of these local urban streams, as we call them.
What do you think is the most meaningful thing that you all do at TSRA? I know that's a hard answer. But if someone was wanting to, let's say, either donate, or back to my question I did ask earlier, you all are a membership-based organization, meaning you all have members who pay dues. Tell me a little bit about that, and then hopefully that leads into the most meaningful part of TSRA.
Well, we have a family membership that's just only $25 a year.
Oh, that sounds
Almost free.
That
Almost
sounds
as close to
free.
free as you can
And
get.
it really is.
that sounds
Not a burden.
Now, when you are a member, that allows you to come to our schools. Now, we do have additional fees for most of our schools, but nonetheless, the $25 a year is well worth it. It basically gives you access to our other events, and it gives you access to a database of people, if you will. That's
Right.
the thing about paddle sport. You really shouldn't do this stuff by yourself. You need other people to show you how to do it and how to do it safely. So for your $25, you get all of these events that we have, plus you have access to all these other people. And I might add, they're really the best people in the world as far as I'm concerned.
I've yet to meet a not nice person in your organization.
We agree with that 100%.
I don't know them all. I've only met like 6, but the 6 I've met, delightful.
Thank you for that.
Delightful. Because I know that Lisa used to be your community shares
Yep.
person, and she's delightful too. And so, and Lucy now, if Lucy's listening, because she was worried about the show.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
Hello, Lucy.
We know you're out there somewhere.
Yeah, you're
You may be
listening.
across the street.
She's already probably emailed me. Can I get a recording? But so, what do you, since you all have been in this organization for so many years, give me like so if someone wants to join or donate to you all, give me some kind of feel good story or something. I want some kind of.
Well, the single most important thing that we do is protect free-flowing rivers, improve paddling skills, and promote safety.
Right.
Now, I know that sounds like 3 things, but you can't separate the 3.
Right.
It's a package,
I agree. They all go together.
and you can't have one without the other. You literally cannot have one without the other, and that's been since our founding in 1966. That has been pretty much what we do. And, it doesn't matter if you ever get in a boat. We have some of the most conservationist-minded people that we've had in the organization don't paddle.
Right.
They appreciate what we do and help us with that. And they may be hikers. They may be bikers. We don't all paddle. Most do, granted, but
I do have to mention one thing so I can go home safely tonight.
Yes.
And that is the side benefit of this, besides just good people, but in my case, I met the love of my life.
Oh.
And we've been,
Amen,
she's
brother.
the past president of TSRA.
There you go.
So, hello, Mary.
and that's not an isolated incident either. That happens with this group
Yes, it does.
more often than you might think.
It's also a matchmaking service.
It is. We do that as well. And
you all should promote that one. For $25, you can meet the love of your life.
it's a two-way street. You can also find out at the same time who you don't want to spend the rest of your life with.
We have a joke about tandem canoeing in our club.
Yes.
That you can do a number of things in a tandem canoe, and I'm speaking two people in a canoe.
Right.
You can. A nickname for a tandem canoe is also a divorce boat.
I could see that.
You put a married couple in a tandem canoe, and they'll be arguing inside of 5 minutes.
That's right. That's funny. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue discussing the work that TSRA does. If you want to find out more about the things we've talked about, if you want to join in this club and start doing some good paddling, visit their website, paddleTSRA.org, and we will be right back. So we were talking with TSRA, which is the Tennessee Scenic Rivers Association, about the broad-based work that they do. And so I think one of the things about this organization that's so good is that they encourage people to take up kayaking or canoeing, either one. I'm not going to say which one's better or which one's not, but because that's apparently contentious to some degree. But to get out into the water, I think is really what they are trying to say, because then that leads to some conservation efforts, and that's what we were discussing briefly. What is your favorite river or stream or lake here in the Middle Tennessee area to go kayaking or canoeing? What's your favorite? If you can have one favorite.
I might answer that as the one you're on, because they're all wonderful.
Right.
They really are. Of course, the ones here right around Nashville and Middle Tennessee tend to be class 1-2 level. But that's relaxing. You can do this sport at any level you want to do it. I always tell that to people.
Right.
You don't have to go out there and risk your life at running class 4 or 5 water. You can, and plenty of people don't. They just want something nice and easy and relaxing. Rivers like the Harpeth, the Buffalo, streams like that they're beautiful, they're scenic, they're fun. There is some maneuvering required, but they're not all that threatening. They're wonderful. Go to the Cumberland Plateau, you have a little bit of every kind of water you want. More remote, harder, more difficult. East Tennessee and the Appalachians, obviously you have a lot of fast rivers over there. So you've got a choice. We're blessed. Tennessee is very blessed with a wide variety of streams.
Because I did read somewhere, and I may have not even read this. I might just be literally making this up.
That's okay. We're making this up too.
But I did read somewhere that we do have a lot of streams and rivers here in Tennessee. I mean, I did compared to other states. I mean, we have Georgia, who would like some of our water.
We have one of the very long free-flowing streams we have is the Duck, and it actually has more diversity in terms of the life in it than most streams in the entire United States. Yep. It's been highly rated according to the people that rate these things.
Which brings me back to another Community Shares member group, the Tennessee Environmental Council. They have done an extensive work on rehabbing some of the Duck River and doing some safe. And that's the good thing about Community Shares, is all of our groups, to some degree, get involved in each other's areas. Where the Tennessee Environmental Council does a lot of tree planting and stream saving, you all do very much the similar types of stuff.
Tracey, we do. Excuse me. We're partner with them right now. John McFadden and his group. We've helped tree planting over the years as he sponsored that. We've planted them on Mill Creek. We've planted here in Davidson County. We've planted them on the Duck River. And right now we're helping that organization with the partial funding of a rather large John boat type watercraft. And that boat is available for stream cleanups. They maintain the boat. We help provide money to help maintain that boat. It has a motor on it, so it's not a paddle craft.
Right.
And we that boat travels from Memphis to wherever, Nashville and maybe East Tennessee, and is available if people want a boat to help them clean up. You can't put that boat on Mill Creek or 7 Mile Creek or someplace like that. You got to have water deep enough to where you can get a motor in it. But the main stem of the Cumberland, some of the lower sections of the Stones River are very accessible to a boat like that that's got an outboard motor on it. So we do partner with them. I'm glad you mentioned them. It's a good thing.
And have you all noticed that, because when I had John on my show, we were talking about this here in Middle Tennessee after the flood, that the streams and the especially the riverbanks and that kind of stuff, it was a little shocking the amount of debris that was left over. Have you noticed, especially at Mill Creek, have you noticed a significant cleanup in that area? Because I know we've had a lot of groups working on that.
Yeah, there's been some major cleanup. We had the opportunity to paddle the week following the flood to help in some recovery efforts and rescue efforts there. But the amount of debris and litter that was in that stream was just really shocking. A lot of that litter literally floated off of industrial parking lots. Huge bales of corrugated that were still strapped together were strewn down the middle of the creek, in the woods along the creek. There was a tremendous amount of plastic that came off of somebody's property, black plastic that was 30 feet up in the trees, downstream from Plus Park. But there has been a huge cleanup effort, especially the McRedmond property, which is just immediately upstream from I-40 near Briley Parkway and Elm Hill Pike. There's a bend in the creek there. It makes a 90-degree bend across his property, and it just drops in that bend as it floods across his field and through the woods. A tremendous amount of litter.
Right.
And all that's gotten cleaned up with help from some corporations that gave their employees a day off work to go out and do that sort of cleanup. And Metro has been really good. I've organized a cleanup on Mill Creek for the last 27 years. Metro Beautification Environment have been great partners in that. They provide the T-shirts, the bags, and the most important aspect of that is the proper disposal of what we pile up on the stream bank at a parking lot or wherever it might be that year, and get rid of it. Just get it out of sight.
Right.
So
I think that's one thing that the flood is we talked about the loss of human lives and property, but we also had some streams and creeks here who did suffer some damage, a lot of debris and so I was just curious about the cleanup of that. Because the important thing about conservation is we all drink the water and we all swim in the water, and I think there's 271 rivers or streams that are polluted and you're not supposed to go into in Middle Tennessee. Did I make that up? Yeah, maybe.
That's probably close. People need to realize that we get our drinking water in Nashville out of the Cumberland River. Mill Creek, for example, drains a tremendous watershed from Knowlesville through Antioch, through even parts of Donelson, all the way down to the Cumberland River, where it empties into the Cumberland River below Lebanon Road. And Nashville's water intake is downstream from the mouth of Mill Creek, where it dumps into the Cumberland River. And that's true of the Stones River upstream from Mill Creek and everything else. So we get our drinking water. You might think about that next time you throw a barrel or a quart of oil or whatever it might be in a storm drain or even off the side of the road and into the creek, thinking if it's out of sight, it's out of mind, because that's where we get our drinking water.
Yep.
It's important. It's very important.
It really, because until I took this job and really started talking to my environmental groups, I didn't really know that fact. And then I was like, whoa, not that I was dumping oil in the river or anything, but I'm usually pretty conservation aware, but I just am like, that's shocking that, our water comes from the Cumberland and people are not always respectful of the land.
Well, we have literally removed automobiles, car engines, appliances, stoves, refrigerators, dryers, you name it. over the years. Now, I will say this, that it's gotten better
Yeah.
over the years. As more of the Mill Creek watershed has been developed, there are less and fewer remote places where people can just pull a truck off to the side of the road and just dump down the bank.
Right.
You don't have very much of that anymore. You still have the problem with it flooding and carrying material and debris out of people's yards or off industrial parking lots, commercial parking lots into the stream itself. But it's been 10 years since we've had to get a car out of the creek, and probably been that long since we found an engine block.
And that's progress.
Car batteries, we don't see that so much anymore. What you see now are plastic bags, which are the bane of my existence in terms of keeping a stream clean.
Right.
Cans and bottles.
I think that's some progress.
I think it is progress. People are doing better.
People are good job, people. Good job. Doing better.
That's right.
So tell me briefly, because we're about to end the show, remind me of the next upcoming class, the one that's happening June 20th through the 22nd.
Canoe and Kayak School. It's on the Hiwassee River in southeast Tennessee. It's outside of Cleveland, Tennessee. Beautiful, just absolutely delightful. Dam-controlled water flow, but a great stream. It's a quarter of a mile wide in places. It's very simple and easy to read. Class 2 white water. There's plenty of Class 1 sections on it as well. Small groups. You'll have to go on the website to understand what the fees are, because I don't know them off the top of my head. But it's very reasonable. We have camping at G Creek State Park Campground. We provide a meal on Saturday night. And we start Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday on the river in small groups. Jack?
Free meal and all the lies you can stand.
Exactly. Free meal.
Lot of stories.
Lots of stories.
I
I can imagine. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming out on my show. It usually happens once a year, and it's always interesting. And we didn't even get to talk about what dams do to rivers. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about. But oh well.
Next time.
Next year. Next time we'll talk about that. So I want to thank you all for coming out on the show.